Welcome, everybody, to the Competition Archery Media Podcast, where we explore all things pertaining to competition archery. I'm your host, PJ Riley, and the CAM Podcast is brought to you by O'Neill's Classic Archery. And today, with a super exciting day for me, we have, off his first win in the senior pro class, Darrin Christenberry. Darrin, thanks for being here and talking with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this day for quite a while. So it's you know me, I love to talk archery, and this has been I guess a more public story because of social media. I mean, there's guys that have switched hands over the years and had some success, but it wasn't as public, I guess you could say, because of the platforms that I have and use and tell everybody kind of my story. But this past weekend was a pretty good chapter.
Yeah, we should say that you won the third leg of the IBO National Triple Crown in Nelsonville, Ohio. You won the senior men's division there. And I believe you posted it's been like 10 years and something since you last won a tournament.
Yeah, my last win was on my birthday, April 27th, 2013, Paris, Texas, in the Open Pro division.
Yeah.
And I had some podiums after that, some seconds, some thirds, here and there, but hadn't stepped on the top step in just a little over 10 years. And that, I mean, after you go through some things and you get older and your eyes change and you switch hands, you start wondering, am I ever going to win again?
Yeah.
And with the way practice has been going in the past few months, deep down, I really felt like I could win. I just felt like I could. I know Darrin Christenberry of old and what he was capable of, and Darrin Christenberry of new, and the potential I'm still seeing each week, because I feel like I'm getting better every week.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I'm doing right now that remind me of Darrin Christenberry 10, 12, 14 years ago, and I'm excited about it.
I know, talking to Nathan Brooks at the last ASA, he was like, man, he said, Darrin's judging good. He's shooting really good. He said, I think you got to watch out for him.
Yeah, I'm starting to get to where I can really aim the bow. I mean, that's been like there's multiple struggles with changing hands. I mean, I have to put my belt on the opposite way because I can't get my release pouch on my right side. It goes on the left side. We can't get it over the buckle. So you got to thread your belt the other direction. Who thought of that, stepping up to the line indoors, picking your bow up with the wrong hand. I mean, my binoculars, it's just been a whole learning process to switch all this. But one of the biggest things I'm starting to see now, whether it be from strength or repetition or just practice, is I'm really starting to aim the bow well. And if I'm executing awesome. I shoot a thumb trigger release. I started with the hinge, but I'm more comfortable with the button, and I'm executing shots awesome.
Yeah.
And if you can execute awesome and hold that bow still, good things will happen. And my confidence is starting to climb a little bit. I'm seeing targets pretty good. My distance is generally pretty good. And man, this last weekend was just proof that it's working. So I can't wait for the Classic. I can't wait for the IBO Worlds. I can't wait for indoor season to get here. I'm excited about all of it.
How long ago was it that you switched from right hand to the left? How many years was it?
25 months.
25 months. Okay.
I switched June 19th of 2021. So it's been just a fuzz over 2 years since I laid down everything right-handed and went 100% left-handed. It's been 25 months.
Now, a couple questions with that. First, I know before you made that switch, you were struggling. We talked about that you were even contemplating walking away and doing something different.
Yep.
From that point, are you surprised to where you are now?
I am. But I'm not, because I'm just like, at first I didn't know if I was willing to put the time in that I put in years ago to get to the level that I wanted to be at. I'm not a guy that can set the bow down and come back in 4 or 5 weeks and pick it up and start shooting 12 rings. I'm not that guy. I need that reassurance. I need that confidence. I need that, you still got it. Yeah, it's here every day. Yeah, things are getting better. Yeah, you're seeing the improvements you want to see. I've shot my bow I could probably count on both my hands the number of times in the past 25 months that I have not shot my bow on a given day. I shoot every day.
Yeah.
I didn't yesterday. There's one. I know yesterday I did not fire an arrow. So, but and I have maybe it's all the pieces of the puzzle together. I've got an indoor range I built at home in 2006. I'm sitting in my basement archery shop here, but I have a 20-foot workbench and another bow press and my chronograph and all the tools out there in the range. So I can set a bow up in here and I can go out there and make all my adjustments. I can shoot 20 yards 24/7 if I want to. Having that facility and switching hands is probably a lot to that. If I had to drive 40 minutes to a range to practice, I don't know how motivated I would have been.
Right.
Having it all right here at my fingertips, the timeline to get from where I was to where I'm at 25 months later that gap was probably shortened because of the facility I have here to play with.
Now, how about the first time you picked up a bow to shoot it left-handed?
Ugh. It was awkward. I had called Tommy Gomez. Nathan was on me. You got to do this. You got to try it. And I was like, Tommy, what do we got? He said, got a Victory 37. I said, send it to me. I had some lower poundage limbs. I think I put on some 50s, turned it down to 40. And I wasn't a 37-inch axle to axle guy. So I shot it just a couple of days and was like, I don't like this. So I put 13-inch limbs on it, built it into a Victory 39 and was like, okay, I could hit the paper, I could stand there and aim the best I could and I could shoot a clean shot, but it was horrible, and then after a couple of weeks, it's like, hey, I'm getting most of them in the yellow on a Vegas target. And then after a couple of months, it's like, man, you've shot like 430s in a row, that's 120, that's a 120,
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, I shot a 300, and the next thing you know, I shot a 300 with 20 some X's, and then the next thing you know, I was shooting 300s pretty consistently. But, I still shoot a 299 with 22 or a 298 with 24, whatever. But the guy today versus indoor season that just finished in March at Indoor Nationals, a totally different archer. I mean, totally different archer. I can stand there. Just this past weekend was standing at the practice bales at 40 yards. I'm shooting ACEs off my IBO bow. I built a brand new bow for this. ACEs. Nelsonville is typically a really long average, difficult course, and I thought little arrows carry better. I can get them shooting pretty good, and I can stand there and aim at those black dots on those morel bag and just see a little bright yellow dot get in there. I'm like, oh, that's in the dot, and shoot the next one and see the yellow get bigger, and shoot the next one. Next thing you know, all of them are in the black dot. I'm like, I couldn't do that 3 months ago. I couldn't do that, 4 weeks ago. And every week I'm starting to see this progression and, little shining moments that get me excited. And like, I told Jacob Marlowe, we roomed together this weekend. I said, if I judge good this weekend, I'll post a good score, 'cause I feel like I'm shooting that good. So it's been a working progress to, holy smokes, I don't know if I'm willing to do it. I started seeing little hints of success. It was like, I'm not stopping till I win, and that's just the attitude I've taken toward it. I'm going to try to win. I want to be a thorn in their sides. I want them to be like, what Darrin shoot? Because the hardest thing to swallow about all the success and then falling off, Darrin Null said it years ago, it's not about not being in contention. It's about when people quit asking how you did. That's the hard pill to swallow, because I'd walk off the range, are you in the shoot off? How'd you shoot? First guy out. How'd you shoot? I didn't make it. How'd you? Oh, no good this weekend. Next thing you know, they quit asking. And that's when reality sets in, man. I'm not where I used to be. And now it's really cool because people are asking and people are wanting to know. And my worst finish this year, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx myself, but my worst finish this year on the 3D course is 6th place. I had 2 6ths, a 5th, a 4th, a couple of seconds, and now a win. Man, I'm happy with that. I couldn't be more happy with that.
This is cool, because I remember seeing you, and actually Kyle has a clip of you from, I believe it was Foley. He came up and he said, Darrin, how'd you do today? And you look right in the camera and you say, I suck. And
yeah,
and I remember talking to you, and your confidence was gone.
It was, and it's hard too because I'm in the trailer. I do a lot of stuff with Elite and the outdoor group, and I've been doing this forever. So I have a lot of friends. I have a crowd of people that I engage with at every event, and I still had to walk around with a smile on my face and act like I was happy being there. I wasn't. I didn't want to go to tournaments. I couldn't practice. I couldn't hit what I was aiming at. So I didn't want to judge targets because even if I knew how far they were, it didn't matter. I couldn't hit it. So it was just like my whole world that I was passionate about was just like the carpet was just yanked out from under me. I had no desire to do it, but yet I'm under contract, getting paid to go, getting paid to run the booth. I'm getting paid to keep a smile on my face and be positive and be a good sport while you're out there. And deep down inside, I was ready to break stuff. I did literally the release that I'm shooting right now still has dents in the casing. It's a nickel plated brass release. It's an Apex thumb trigger. It still has dents in the casing where I threw it in the gravel in my driveway out of frustration. I was shooting right-handed. I'm just, I threw it down in the gravel, and I was like, you know what? That's just no way to be about this. And I'm still shooting that release to this day because I was like, just keep on trucking.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I didn't know. I knew you were frustrated. I didn't know it was that level of frustration, but I would imagine, because Levi Morgan had just a week or two ago, whatever it was, he said, yeah, I remember when I was coming up, he was like, hey, it's good to see Darrin doing good. And he said, I remember when Darrin was the guy to beat.
Yeah, we battled. We battled at Mississippi when we shot at Mississippi, and when Levi won his first tournament, I think I had to 12 the last target to win it, and I shot an 8, and Levi won his first tournament. And then look who Levi Morgan is. I'm not responsible for that, but I was the guy in his way more often than not, I guess you would say. I won Shooter of the Year in 2006. I was close to winning it in 2007. I was winning 1, 2, 3 tournaments a year for 7, 8, 9. Then I started shooting the FITA stuff and I got target panic, and that ruined me. I mean, that was like the worst years of my archery career, other than when I physically couldn't shoot the bow anymore, was mentally trying to overcome shooting FITA.
No kidding.
Yeah, just horrible. Couldn't execute, was embarrassed. Shot Vegas one year, was probably 2011 or 2012. Started off and shot like the first 8 Super X's in a row and was punching it, scared to death, drew back the 9th one, double clutch, boom, shot a 0. And I'm just like, this is horrible. This is just a horrible place to be. And it took me a long time to get through a full round and execute the way I felt like I needed to execute. I can't say punching's not the way. I mean, look what these guys are doing in their style of shooting. Jimmy Lutz, Kyle Douglas, just to name a couple of the 2 best. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just not my style. It's not how I want to execute my shot. And if the monkey gets on you and you can't get him off, it's not fun. Archery's not fun. And right now, switching hands, switching sides of the brain, oh man, I tell you what, like I said, my execution is awesome. I don't shoot a bad shot. I don't plan on shooting a bad. I may miss, but I'm not going to shoot a bad shot. And I love being able to get through all that.
What was it shooting right-handed? What was stopping you? A physical injury?
Yeah, and we couldn't pinpoint it. I had one knee partially replaced in 2016. I had another knee partially replaced in 2019. And June of 2019 is when I really that was the head of it, I guess you would say. We had shot a couple 3 tournaments, and I was just struggling to hold the bow. I went back to my knee surgeon. He said, man, I don't think it's anything to do with your knees. I went to a nutritionist thinking, I could lose a few pounds. I mean, I'll be honest about that. I don't eat the most healthy diet in the world, but I thought I'll go to a nutritionist. We tried a bunch of different things, and, I went to a different doctor, and he's like, man, he said, I want to do an MRI on your shoulder. And he found a cyst and an old tear. And he said, I truly believe that's what your problem is. I said, let's fix it. He said, 4 or 5 weeks, you can be back to shooting low poundage. I said, man, let's do it. we did it, went back to shooting low poundage. It didn't change anything. Just stood there, and it looks. I tell people, and I'm not making fun of it. It looks like I've got Parkinson's disease when I'm shooting a bow right-handed, and it got bad enough I could see it and feel it in my head and neck while I was at full draw. Well, I can't execute a shot when that pin's not even close to sitting still.
Yeah.
But it all came to a head. London, Kentucky, June of 2019. We shot that tournament. And I shot 40 down. I shot a 360. And I was like, I'm done. I had already talked to, I got some friends that own an electrical business. I was an electrician for almost 10 years, remodeled Walmarts and Sam's Clubs with an electric crew that I worked with. So I worked a lot of third shift, but could pull wire, bend some conduit. And I had talked to a buddy of mine. He had his own business here. And I said, what do you think about me coming to work for you? He said, dude, I'll have a van for you tomorrow. He said, you just tell me when. And he said, I'll give you the keys. He said, I'll hire you tomorrow. And I said, well, I'm really contemplating making a change. I said, I've had my gut full of this. I've exhausted my resources. I did the surgery. I did everything I could do. And I said, I've lost it. I said, it's just been taken away from me. And Nathan kept after me, dude. It's two-handed sport, man. You got to try left-handed. You got to try left-handed. Tommy sent me the bow, and here we are 25 months later.
That's incredible. I mean, that's gotta, you can explain it to us, but it's different for you knowing what you felt in there. And that's gotta be incredible for you, knowing what you felt then to be where you are now. Yeah.
And I sit there prior to the shoot off Sunday at the IBO in Nelsonville, and I was like, just almost gut wrenching in my stomach, not really nervous, but was like, okay, dude, here's your shot. I got close. I mean, I was too far behind Jeff in Metropolis to catch him, but I shot a good shoot down.
Yeah, you did.
I judged him well. I executed well. I aimed the bow well. I shot the same in London, but I misjudged a couple targets, shot a couple 8s, and I shot at a couple 14s. At that point, it didn't matter. But again, every week I'm seeing this progress, and to go into the shoot-off leading, your worst fear is losing that lead or, making a big mistake and falling from where you're at. And I typically, knock on wood, in the past, when I've gone into the shoot down in the lead or in a really good position, I've not given up many positions, or I've continued to win the tournament. So I'm sitting there thinking about all this stuff. How are you going to handle this? What's your first target? What's your best target? How's your nerves going to be? Here's your chance to prove what you've been working your butt off for the past 25 months. Here's your opportunity. Don't let it slip through your fingers. And that was my whole thing. Do not fear this opportunity. You go out there and you execute, and if you win, great. And if you don't walk away regretting that you didn't do the best you could do. And from the first arrow to the fifth arrow, I aimed as good as I could aim. I executed as good as I could. I did shoot an 8. I overjudged the first target and was like, well, crap. And then the second target was probably a 49-yard feeding deer, which I hate that target, but it looked a mile. So I was like, well, I'm going to 10 it if I make a good shot. And I did. I stayed 10s all the way through. And it was up to Matt Bressler. If he would have shot an inside out 11 on his last arrow, we would have been tied on points and bonus rings and would have had to shoot off. So after I shot my arrow, I'm watching his target the whole time, and he shot an 8 to the left. And I'm like, I looked at Marlon, I was like, dude, I just won, and it was like, okay, great. You handled that really well. So, and I think that's probably what I'm more proud of than anything for me personally was the first arrow for score would give me troubles at times, either first day or second day. The last arrow for score would give me troubles at times. Certain targets would get my blood pressure a little higher, get me, this is a target you've made a mistake on, and if you're thinking about the wrong things, the likelihood of something bad happening is pretty good. But I've handled those arrows. I've handled those situations really well mentally. Physically, I'm able to stand there and aim and execute. And man, that's a big win. It's a big, big win. And so each week my confidence is getting a little better. I'm checking these boxes as I go, and to win one, I feel pretty good about it.
Did you not really contemplate the fact, like, was there any point leading into the shoot off at Nelsonville where you were like, I got this one, or did that not truly happen until Matt Bressler shot that.
Yeah,
8.
no, I didn't. And things that I mentally, the last arrow, the first, I shot 6 up in the first 10. And I'm like, oh, man. And my guys in my group are like, dude, phew, and I'm like, yeah, it's a good day. I'm thinking this all inside. This is a good day. And then I shot an 8 on this uphill bear. I misjudged it. I'm like, man, that was dumb. And then we shoot like a 50-yard hogzilla up a hill, and I just fired a little low, and I shot another 8, back-to-back 8. So I went from 6 up to 2 up. And then I hit a couple 11s, and then I shot another 8 on like a 50-yard rubbing buck. And my last target of the day was a leopard on the rock at like 41 or 42 yards. It was not a hard target. I had to lead it. I'm sitting there. I see a shiny spot right by the 11, and I'm like, shoot a 10 here, you're 2 up. Shoot an 11 here, you're 3 up. I was thinking about my score. Wasn't thinking about anything else but what I was going to post for the day. And I stood there and I aimed, and I'm like, man, you're holding a little bit long. And boom, I was like, crap, that's low right. And sure enough, I shot an 8. And I was so mad at myself because I wasn't thinking about shooting a good shot and pick your spot and just aim and feel that tension build. I was thinking, you're going to be 2 up, you're going to be 3 up, you're going to be even, don't shoot a 5. I was thinking about all the wrong things. And so I walked off that range, and I'm like, well, that was dumb, and they're like, well, you're in second place. And I'm like, okay, that's not too bad. Made a mistake, made a couple mental errors, and I'm in the hunt.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep good Saturday night. Anxious about shooting, thinking to myself, if you judge good, you'll shoot good. I'm shooting good. My bow's awesome. First target of the day, easy, 30, 35, 36, 37-yard fallow deer, no problem. Just barely missed the 11. Second target's like a 42-yard turkey up a hill, and boom, I dipped, shot a 5. And I'm like, well, that sucks. Next target I have to lead, it's like a 50-yard pronghorn up the hill, boom. And I thought, oh my gosh, you just shot another 5. I got lucky and hit an 8. So I'm 7 down after 3 targets. And I'm talking to myself on the way back to get my bow from scoring those arrows. I was like, well, buddy, you've dug yourself a hole. If you want to win, you gotta work your butt off now. And I just started chipping away, 11, 11, 10, 11, 10, 11. I did shoot a couple more 8s, but I 11 to 42 or 3 yard Wolverine, just missed an 11 on a real long javelina. Almost 11 to 51-yard alligator. And I was like, okay, you survived all the hard stuff, but then got down to the last target, 41 or 42-yard black boar. And I'm thinking, where are you at for the day? Are you going to be leading? Are you going to make the shoot off? Are you in second? Are you in first? Are you in fifth? Are you going to be sixth? That's all I'm thinking about. Is this score good enough? Boom, shoot an 8. I'm like, well, that killed me right there. Anyway, last target of the day is like a 46 or 47-yard Corsican ram, and I smoked the 11 on it. I'm like, that's the best you can do. Sure enough, I go into the shoot off leading. So I literally, through the whole weekend, had no idea where I was at, no idea that I had potential to win. And then even going into the shoot off with 5 arrows to go, if you make a mistake, you can't make up a lot of ground very fast unless you get lucky and shoot an inside out 11. So all that babble in answer to your question, no. Up to the shoot off, I had no idea I was going to win. I knew if I shot to my potential, I had a really good chance. I made one mistake. Everybody else made at least one mistake, and I shot just good enough to pull out the win.
I want to go back to something you said, because I'm nowhere near on your level. I do this I shoot for fun, all that stuff. But the thought process. So at the team shoot in London, I think it was, I shoot the team shoot now, Zebra Bowstrings team shoot, and I shot a 10 up, but I had 6 12s through, 10 target course. The last one, I looked at the scorecard all day. All I'd been, everybody knows, watch shot of the week. I can't hit a 12 to save my life. But on that day, I was like, okay, I can see that 12. I'm going to shoot that right there. I'm going to hit that 12. Got it. That's what I'm focused on. Good shot. The last target, I looked at the scorecard. I was like, man, if I just shoot a 10 here, I got a clean scorecard. Yeah. I'm at full draw saying just don't shoot an 8.
Yeah.
What did I shoot? An 8.
Careful what you wish for.
It's
Yeah. It's just like, at Vegas, you can't miss. You can't miss. And people, myself included, shoot with so much tension in their body, and you can see it when they miss. They're just like, "Phew! I'm glad that's over. Now I can shoot my bow." And that's not why I practice. I want that gut wrench in my stomach. I want to have a chance to win. That's why I practice. But I was so disappointed in myself because targets you should probably not shoot an 8 on in a lot of circumstances. I won't say never, because anything's possible, but targets that don't even get my heart rate up.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, man, if you get this one, you're 3 up. If you shoot a 10, you're 2 up, and don't shoot an 8, because then you're just even. And oh crap, I wasn't thinking about, I was shooting defensively. I wasn't thinking about, okay, there's your spot. Let's get this thing. Just a couple little mental errors that I'd like to clean up. Holding a little bit. My shot timing is really good for the most part, but I held a little long on some targets. And as soon as that thought hits your mind, you should probably let this down and start over. You better let her down and start over. And I catch myself a lot doing it, but I do find myself shooting a lot of shots I've never shot before left-handed. The footing at Nelsonville, they don't look for a nice flat spot to stick the stake. They stick it in the worst spot you could stand. So, I've got my feet 3 foot apart trying to find a good balance on the heel, just shooting shots I haven't practiced yet left-handed. So it affects the stability in my pin. When your eye sees your pin not moving steady, your brain gets to thinking, oh, crap, make a good shot, don't shoot an 8, all these things you shouldn't be thinking about. So I'm trying to erase any negativity or any futuristic. I'm trying to control my score, and I haven't even shot the arrow. You can't do that, So, and I know better, but it's been so long since I've had a chance to put these thoughts through my brain and let my body process these feelings. It was almost like I'd never done it before. And then I'm sitting back on my stool going, you're an idiot. You've done this before. This is not hard. Just do what you do what you practice day in and day out, and you won't have to be beating yourself up like you are right now. So,
it's funny to watch the people who consistently win. Jeff Hopkins, Carr Kelly, Levi, Dan, those folks. That it's funny when they're in those situations where I'm thinking, oh man, that would be driving me crazy. I can't understand it. But they're in those situations so often, like you're saying, and as you had been at one time, that it's not as nerve-wracking as it would be to the rest of us.
Yeah, I have more confidence in myself than anybody else out there should have, and if they're nervous watching me shoot, I'm probably not as nervous as they are, because I feel like I can do it. I know I can do it. I just have to have the right mindset when I get to full draw and anchored that, just execute, just shoot your shot. And, playing the guessing game is a huge factor. And that's always, it's nervy. When I shot an 8 just prior to the gator, we had a long black bear, and I led it. I had to lead it. And I stepped up there and I looked at it, and I was like, that thing's 46 yards all day long. I looked at it for probably 2 minutes, and I was looking at the trees, looking at the ground, looking at the size of the body. It's like, man, I think that's right. So I set my sight. Everybody else got their look. I stepped up to the stake, and as soon as I looked at the target again, I was like, it's farther than that. It's farther than that, Darrin. You should put more on this. I was like, nope, you just looked at this for 2 minutes, made your decision, you set your sight. Do not change your mind in this last 8 seconds before you have to fire this shot. And I drew back, and it was perfect. My pin never even wiggled, and boom, and I could just see that arrow fall. And I was like, oh, did that stay 8? That was my response to the group. Did that stay an 8? And they're like, yeah, you're right through the 8 line. I'm like, you're an idiot. So then I walk over to the next target, and it's a 51-yard alligator. So now I just misjudged an almost 50-yarder by 3. I'm looking at a gator that's this tall from belly to back, and do I have enough number on this one? So when I got the full draw, I was like, no doubts whatsoever. There's no doubts. And when that shot broke, I knew it was money, and I just barely missed the 11. And it's just the little bitty thoughts that creep into your mind. If you can control those throughout your round, gosh, every point matters, but it could be a significant amount of points. And, my gut was telling me, you don't have enough. Last minute, you don't have enough. And sometimes that's the wrong decision. I don't get through very many rounds without making some kind of a mistake. And I don't know anybody that shoots a perfect round, but I'm starting to control what I can control and control it at the correct times. And that's my goal, is to do the right things at the right times instead of the wrong things at the right times, or wrong, whatever, it's just trying to control my mind now. I've got a chance to be competitive, and I want to make sure I'm giving myself the best opportunity to succeed.
Now, what I want to ask you about is, did you so I went all through social media after you won. I was watching the shoot down. I heard the crowd there at Nelsonville, then saw all the social media. Dude, there was a ton of love for you winning that tournament, man.
It was crazy, yeah, because, I turn around and there's Sharon Wallace, there's Aaron McGladdery, there's Jack, there's Levi, there's Dan McCarthy, there's everybody, coming out to give me a hug, and Brandon Reyes, all the amateur people I don't even know. Man, that's awesome. Congrats. And it was really, big smile on my face. And then I was driving home. I did a social media post at Buffalo Wild Wings. I had to take Marlo to the airport, and we stopped for a late lunch. And I did a social media post while I was sitting at Buffalo Wild Wings, and my phone's bing, 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 bing,
you
bing.
Bet.
This is cool. It's blowing up, Well, I couldn't watch it on my drive home. I had 4 hours to get home, got home about 10 o'clock. And I literally sat in my chair right here where I'm at for probably 2 hours, reading comments and liking comments and just sifting through. And then Elite did a post yesterday, and it had like 60 shares. Yeah. And then, Jennifer Brooks did a post, and all of our team, all of our pro staff shared it. And I was just like, and I had a guy message me. He's like, dude, you took over the internet yesterday.
You did.
I'm like, well, and it's really cool to have that support. I try to be accessible to people. I know when I was coming up, I followed Randy Ulmer and the Chappells and Hopkins and Jack Wallace. And when I first started shooting, I was in the background watching what these guys were doing. And I just felt like they were inaccessible, or I was out of touch with them. And I told myself then, if I ever get to be in the spotlight or a person of interest, I want to be accessible. I want to answer the questions. And sometimes, I'm not Levi, don't get me wrong. His following is ridiculous, but I try to answer a lot of questions on social media and help people. And I'm flattered by the feedback, and I'm flattered by the encouragement, and just excited to see this all come together. It's been an awesome journey, a fun ride, and I hope it's not over.
We put up a couple pictures of you yesterday congratulating, and it had like over 1,000 likes the last time I looked. And yeah, I don't ever remember us doing a post like that, but this is Darrin Christenberry, everybody, people got to know you through the broadcasts on there. And if they didn't follow your shooting, then they see your shooting. Everybody, you were very open with your struggle and what you were trying to do. It wasn't any big secret. Yeah. And I think that resonated with people. I would imagine you probably have heard from a lot of people who are thinking of switching hands.
Every tournament. Every tournament I get questions of, why'd you switch? Man, my shoulders tore up, or my eyes bother me, and what do you think? And they're like, well, I'm left eye dominant anyway. And I was like, you should be shooting left-handed, Now, again, not everybody's got the facility or the tools that I have, so that learning curve may be a little bit longer, but I put my head down and I put my mind to it, and I got access to the equipment too. I can make a phone call and have a bow in a couple of days if I need to. I got a
left-handed one.
Well, maybe a couple weeks, But the opportunity, I just tried to seize it, and I thought, maybe I did it for other people too. Maybe I wanted to prove to other people that don't give up. It's because I can't do anything left-handed. I struggle dribbling a basketball left-handed. I can't throw. I don't do anything left-handed.
Yeah.
I might wax my truck left-handed if my right hand gets tired or something, but I literally don't do anything left-handed. And to watch it progress, and then to be able to like stop that pin again, I almost surprised myself a little bit. But
yeah, I can't imagine switching to left-handed myself. Same as you. That just, it's so foreign. Just. Yeah. Like nothing seems right.
It still is, but I've said it. My confidence is getting better. I'm believing in what I'm doing now, and that's half the battle. If you step up to judge a target and you think you're wrong, you're probably wrong. You know, if you're scared you're going to make a mistake at full draw, you're probably going to make a mistake. I don't have those fears anymore. I'm like, I can make this shot, and I know I'm pretty close on how far away this thing is, and that takes a lot of that gets a lot of the hurdles out of my way when I'm trying to achieve a goal. And this has been a fun ride.
Which bow are you shooting?
The Verdict.
You are shooting the Verdict. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. And I set this new one. I've shot an orange one in the ASA all year. I built it early, shot it at Foley, shot it at every ASA. And when we shot the first IBO in pipe stem back in May, I put on a different sight, raised my arrow just a little bit because I went from 20 arrow rest, I went from 25s to 23s, and I built an arrow that would shoot like 305, which was Super Drive 23s. I dropped a couple of sight tapes because of the speed, and the bow shot really good. I shot a really good second day at pipe stem, made the shoot off, and I think I finished 4th. Right after that, I thought, you know what? I don't want to be changing back and forth all the time. So I ordered a second bow. I ordered a third bow. I have a 60-pound that I shot indoors, but I ordered another 65-pound blue one. And I started setting it up right away just to see if I could get something shooting as good as my orange one. I played with 23s. I played with 25s. I played with ACEs. And I thought, you know what? ACEs in the past really shot good for me. Especially at the IBO event. So I said, I'm going to build this bow with ACEs and see if I can see how good I can get at shooting. And I've been working on this bow for over a month, but in the past week, I could see back in 2007, I won the first leg of the IBO in Bedford, Indiana with a Matthews Conquest 4 and ACE 370s. And I mean, I was shooting some nasty groups at 40 and 50 yards, just wadding these arrows up, cover them with a quarter. And I was like, man, this bow pounds. All I have to do is judge targets and shoot. And I shot 23 or 24 up and won that event back in 2007. And as I've been practicing with this bow, I could see some of those same groups, not as consistent, but I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's shooting good. And that's just, I guess, the confidence I needed. I was like, it's time to take this bow. It's time to go to the IBO and see what happens. And if you get something shooting that good that you're confident in, and all you have to do is worry about how far away a target is, your job's a lot easier.
Well, 2007, I mean, on top of it being different bows and all that stuff, and you were shooting right-handed, that was also 15 years ago.
Yeah. Well, younger, I could hold steadier, but I remembered, you know, having that bow, that one setup stuck out in my mind, how good it shot. And I had 2 different builds of ACEs. I have one set of arrows with 2 inches cut off the back and one set with just about 1 inch. And if I mixed them in my quiver and shot them in groups at 50, you can't really tell which group of arrows the bow was tuned for. I mean, I could shoot like a baseball size group on average, and they would all hit with inside that circle. But if I went to paper or went to average group size, the stiffer arrow, the one that I had more cut off the back of, that's what my bow was tuned for. So I don't know what build I had 15 years ago exactly, because I don't have those arrows anymore, but this build that I have right now was as close to that setup as I've seen in 15 years. And I was like, it kind of gets that stomach going, hey, this bow's shooting so good. And last time you had one shooting this good, you could win. Of course, again, a lot of factors, left-handed, a lot of different things, but man, it's fun.
Are you at all like a little bit disappointed that there's only 2 3D events left in the season?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm ready to go. I can't wait. I'm actually going to Kentucky this Saturday to shoot a state event with Ryan Reed, Michael Evans, and a bunch of guys. Stephen Altizer's driving over. We're going to shoot an ASA event Saturday in Kentucky. And I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't go to local shoots. I don't go an extra weekend. But right now it's like, oh, yeah, I want to go practice. I want to get ready for the Classic, you know. So I'm having so much fun right now, and I can't get enough of it. I don't want 3D season to end, but unfortunately, we've only got a couple events left.
Yeah. So how about that part? Let's talk about the mental, you know, your mental health in terms of where you are now and where you were 25 months ago, 26, 27 months ago. I mean, that's got to do a world of good for you too. Just feeling more positive about things.
It is, and I feel like when I speak about something now, or answer a question for somebody, or just give my opinion in general, I feel like it gives me validity again. Now, guys, oh, you've been doing this forever, you don't need to prove yourself. Yeah, I do. I haven't been a factor for so many years. I mean, I get some podium finishes, have a good one day. Oh man, hey, I saw you made a shoot off. Congrats. Yeah, that's cool in passing, but deep down, when you're doing videos and you're, in front of the camera all the time, and you're telling someone, well, this is how I shoot a release, and then they look back and go, this guy ain't won a tournament in 20 years. Who cares how he shoots a release? It doesn't matter to a lot of people. And I didn't want to be that guy saying this is how I do it, or this is what I think, because I felt like my opinion didn't matter anymore. And now I feel like if I have something to say, people might be like, okay, I get it now. If a guy just started shooting, a guy or gal just started archery 5 years ago, they don't know what I did in 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They don't know any of those titles or any of those champions. They don't know unless they look it up. If they're an archery geek like me, they might know. But if they don't, I'm just another guy giving my opinion. So having some success, having this consistency, being able to put up or shut up, I feel like it gives me validity again. And having that feeling of like, okay, you belong here. What you say should mean something, or your opinion might matter to someone. I feel good about that, because before it was just like, I didn't want to shoot. I was covering up my jersey. I didn't want people to know who I was or what I was doing, because it was embarrassing at times. But once I switched hands, I had nothing to hide from. I was like, I got nothing to prove but what I want to prove to myself. I can't be embarrassed. I may not hit all the targets this weekend, but that's okay. I'm going to keep pushing forward, and I may not hit all the targets next weekend, but I have nothing to hide from anymore.
Yeah. Are you aware of any other pro who had a 10-year gap in winning on the 3D circuit?
I don't know timelines. Like, I know I saw some questions. People were asking if people had switched hands before. I think Frank Pearson switched hands for a while at one time. Ron Smart switched years ago and won as a lefty from switching from righty. Darren Collins used to be a righty. He's now a lefty. Glenn Meadows switched from right-handed to left-handed a few years ago because of an eye problem. Maybe it wasn't as well known because social media platforms weren't as prevalent then. And I've kind of made my story a little bit public as the journey's gone along. But I also thought there's got to be a time when you quit using that as a crutch too, Darrin. You can't say, well, I'm still shooting left-handed. There's got to be a point in time where you say, okay, you're a left-handed archer now. You can't use that as a crutch. And I think I might be past that point now. I'm a left-handed archer. So,
yeah, I tried to see if there was anybody who had a 10-year gap. ASA records were the only ones that I had to go by, but I didn't find anybody with that long of a span between there.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm proud of it. I'm excited about it because, there's always that little devil, that little bit of doubt, can you, can't you, how you going to handle it? All these things and all the questions that I could have asked myself. I've answered them pretty good to this point. And I'm happy with my performance, and I'm happy with my practice, and I'm happy that I'm shooting good enough to where I can actually spend time looking at targets and actually work on numbers again, because for 4 or 5 years, I didn't go practice judging because it was irrelevant. I was wasting time. And now every second that I put into the game, I feel like I'm getting something back out of it again. I'm getting rewarded for my efforts again. And that's the best feeling in the world. I mean, I work, there may be some weeks I put in 20 hours. There may be some weeks I put in 60 hours. I don't keep track of my clock, but there's days where I spend 3 or 4 hours a day working on bows or shooting or moving targets or judging. And you want some kind of reward for that effort. And I feel like I'm getting rewarded now. And that's a good, satisfying feeling.
So going to indoor now, do you feel this confidence? Do you have this kind of confidence in your indoor game as well?
I think I will. In February and March, I couldn't shoot I couldn't shoot a 40-yard group like that. You know, I mean, I'm shooting groups at 40 yards that would all be in the Vegas 10 at 20, you know.
Yeah.
You know, indoors is a different thing. My mindset, I've never handled that as well as I did 3D. I mean, I shot 1/900 at Vegas back in 2007. You know, chances shot 15 or 16. I don't know how a guy ever does that. I did it one time, and my mind and my body couldn't handle that pressure. I just, okay, now I can relax to shoot. I can't shoot a 900. Now I can relax. I just never handled indoors that well. I got a second chance now. I've been able to coach myself along. I've been able to see my sight picture get to where I like it. I've been able to execute consistently. So I have high hopes for a good indoor season. I don't know what it'll be, but I've got high hopes for a really good indoor season coming up.
Awesome. Well, Darrin, we're right at an hour. Was there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to touch on?
No, nothing that we really didn't cover about the journey. And I think that's kind of, I think that's kind of the point of it is, man, if you're passionate about this game, I got so much crap. I mean, I've got magazines and totes and old releases and memorabilia and, you know, prototype arrows from Easton that D Wild gave me to just, you name it. I'm an archery geek. I love this sport. I love everything about it. I love building arrows. People don't. I did an article for Last Chance that's coming out today, probably about fletching arrows on wraps and why I do it and my thought process on that. But I just love archery. I appreciate good archery. I appreciate Levi Morgan, Dan McCarthy, Rio Wild, Braden Gellantine, Cara Kelly, Aaron McGladdery. I appreciate what they do because I know how hard that is to do. To do it with your dominant hand and then turn around and try to do it with your opposite hand, I appreciate that. And I hope other people appreciate the encouragement or the willingness to try it. And I would just say, if you're struggling, don't give up, man. If you're passionate about this game, it's a lifelong sport. I don't plan on quitting anytime soon now, but
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say Powerball, I believe, is up to $1 billion. So if you win that on Wednesday, we're still going to see you at the ASA Classic.
I can promise you, if I win the Powerball, I will still be at the ASA Classic. I will still be there. I might be driving a different vehicle, but I'll still be there. Yeah, I just want to say, too, that
yes.
Thanks to everybody for the support. It means a lot.
I figured it had to, because like I said, you know, breaking the internet like that, I was just like, he's got to be feeling the love, because I'm not you and I can see it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. All right, folks, that is another episode of the Competition Archery Media Podcast. Darrin Christenberry, congrats on the success. Everything, you deserve it. We're some of your biggest fans. We appreciate you coming and talking with us.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, Competition Archery Media Podcast. You can find it on all the platforms, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Thanks for being with us today.